In our last episode, we went to the Shark Club in New Reno and met with John Bishop. After exploring the place and meeting some of his family members, we delivered the briefcase that Thomas Moore from Vault City gave us to Mr. Bishop, only to discover that inside the briefcase was detailed information about Vault City technology. We learned that John Bishop's entire plan was to weaken Vault City with raider attacks until they had no other option than to ask NCR for help, which would make them one step closer to becoming enveloped by NCR. This subsequently is all part of his plan to make NCR indebted to him, putting him one step closer to becoming the only major power in New Reno. But not everyone in NCR likes the idea of John Bishop running Reno, and so John Bishop gave us a job. He wanted us to travel to NCR and get rid of a man named Westin, but to do so quietly, so that it can't be traced back to John Bishop. Now we have to travel to NCR. But at this point in our journey, NCR has already been marked on our map. Now I'm gonna cover NCR in great detail in an upcoming video, so I won't go over every character and every story now. Instead, we'll quickly go over the steps necessary to assassinate Westin. Upon arrival at NCR, we need to immediately put away our weapons and the weapons of our companions. Otherwise, the people here won't give us quests and will eventually attack. Then, going south, we can talk to an NCR police officer standing on a street corner. This is Sheriff Dumont, and from him we can get information. With our weapons put away, we find an option to say, "I'm looking for honest work. Can you help me?" "I can think of a couple of things if you're really interested," he says. "Like what?" we can say. And he says, "Well, there's Mr. Westin. If you talk to him, tell him I sent you." "Westin," we can ask. And he says, "Roger Westin. His spread's just south of the gate." While we're talking with him, we should also pick up a quest he gives us to talk with President Tandy. That will come in useful in just a bit. We actually have to walk west of this location until we find a fiery energy gate. But we can talk with the officer on the other side. "This is private property. Please move along," he says. "Excuse me, but who lives here?" we can ask. "This is Westin Ranch, home of Councilman Westin," he says. "I need to see the councilman, please." "What business do you have with Mr. Westin?" And with the referral that we just got, we can say, "I'm looking for work and I hear that he's hiring." And only after having gotten the recommendation first does this officer respond by saying, I seem to remember something about work being available. All right, come on in. Don't cause any trouble though. I'll be watching you." And he lowers the energy barrier. Then on the other side of the barrier, we find a large farm to explore. But to continue with this quest, we head to the large building in the middle of the farm and talk to the man standing on the porch. "What can I do for you, stranger?" he says. "The sheriff told me to come by," we can say. "Said Mr. Westin might have a job for me." "Dumont, eh?" says the man. "Well, that's good enough for me. Mr. Westin's inside." With that, we can open the door to Westin's house without being fired upon. Alternatively, we can always say, "What if I said Bishop in New Reno sent me to kill him?" In which case he says, "Then I guess we gotta kill you," unsurprisingly, and he attacks. So not doing that, and instead pretending that we're here for a job, we can head inside. Here we find Roger Westin. "I'm Roger Westin, and you can't come barging in here. What do you want?" he says. "Bishop sent me." "I should have guessed," says Westin. "What did he promise you? Money, chems, or sex?" "It doesn't matter. You'll never see any of it." "What do you mean?" we can say. "What do you think? You know too much. What if you come back to NCR and sell him out? Or threaten to? You're as good as dead already." On the other hand, I've got a better offer. It's here where things get interesting. We can accept his offer, or tell him to shut up. We'll see what he has to say in a minute. But for now, let's find a way to kill Westin. Now, we could just pull out our guns and blow his head off. But if we do, when we get back to Mr. Bishop, he says, "You got some balls coming back here after screwing up the way you did in NCR. Why didn't you just tack a sign on Westin saying, 'Contract hit'? you're gonna be a long time dying. Remember, he told us that we have to make it look like an accident. Now, there are two ways to discover that Westin suffers from a heart condition. We find a man in town called Merc who can sell us information about Westin. What can you tell me about some guy named Westin, we can say? And he says, the rancher, came in here one time 'bout crooked. Town doc had to rush over with some pills. Seems Weston's got a heart condition. Ruined business for the rest of the night. Or, if we go to the clinic of Dr. Jubilee and examine the bookshelf, inside we find a bottle of heart pills. If we steal them and he catches us, he says, watch it, I just measured out Mr. Weston's dose. So from this we learn he has a weak heart. With this information in hand, we can sneak up behind Mr. Weston and use some buff out on him. If we do, he says, I have a bad heart condition. Can't take, must tell Felix. Felix was the name of the guard at the door, but then he collapses and dies. The Chosen One says, wow, I guess he did have a heart problem. This counts as a stealthy kill. What also counts as a stealthy kill may seem counterintuitive. Another way to make it look like an accident is to reverse pickpocket a timed explosive into his inventory. Setting some dynamite to 30 seconds or so, we can steal from him and plant it. Then, stepping to the side and waiting a bit, he dies. Now you'd think this would be much more conspicuous than, say, dying from a heart attack. But no, this also works as a way to silently kill him. Heading all the way back to Mr. Bishop in New Reno, he says, Tribal, my patience is wearing thin. Did you do the doggone job or what? And we can finally say, Weston has had an accident. Yes, terrible shame. A man like that dying so suddenly. Now, about the money you owe me. And he smiles. Good job, Tribal. I'm impressed. And I'm not an easy man to impress. Here's your payment. Got any more work for me, we can ask? And he says, yeah, I got a job for you. I have another problem down in NCR. Nail one, another pops up. This dead man's name is Carlson. He don't know he's dead yet. Make it happen, and it's worth $500 to you. Another murder, we can say? And he says, ain't murder. Murder's an ugly word. This is business, politics, if you will. Both two respectable institutions. You want the job or what? No problem, we can say. This Carlson is as good as dead. One more thing, says Bishop. I don't care if you go in there guns blazing with old Carlson. He's bound to be holed up there pretty tight after Weston bought it, so it doesn't need to be pretty. It just needs to be done. Capiche? Well, I'm gonna need some info on this Carlson guy before I do anything. Like? Says Bishop. Well, where can I find this guy? I don't want to have to hunt his ass down when I get to NCR. He's holed up in the presidential mansion in NCR. Can't miss it. Finding a way in and whacking the geezer is your job. This guy got any kin, any family, any witnesses I gotta worry about, we can say. And he says his wife's dead, but he's got a son, only 7 or 8 years old, that lives in the mansion with him. And then he thinks. The place is bound to be guarded, though, so keep an eye out for security. What's this guy's health like, we can ask? Any illnesses? No, nothing like that I know of. He's a paranoid jerk, sure, but I don't think he's sick or anything. And then he frowns. Then again, he's a pretty old guy, so his health can't be that great. Wait a minute, he's got guards? How many guards, we can ask? And he says, don't know exactly how many. I'd scope out the place, get a feel for the numbers. Of course, dealing with them, that's your problem, Tribal. Well, that's enough to go on. Carlson's a dead man, we can say. And one more time, in case I haven't made myself clear, he says, I don't care how you whack the son of a gun, as long as he's dead and stays that way. All right, I heard you the first time. I'm on it, we can say. And he says, all right then, I expect to hear from you soon. And remember, Tribal, you don't know me, and we never had this conversation. Word gets out, and I'll put you down. Don't you worry about me, Bishop. You just make sure you got that cash waiting for me when I get back. We find Carlson in the council hall section of NCR, but his residence is barred off with a flaming energy barrier. There are 3 ways we can get by. The first is to use our repair skill to disable the barrier. But if we do, the guards all turn hostile, and we have to fight through every member of NCR in this entire town. The second is to go back to Merc. I'm looking for work, we can say. Are you that stupid, he says? You think I'm just gonna hire anybody? You work for me, you gotta prove you're good for something. Prove like how, we can say. And he says, like I've got problems that need solving. Such as? Such as there's a damn hebologist in town who has irritated me. Once this itch is scratched, come back and talk to me. Consider it done, we can say. I got just the back scratcher for him. But what's a hebologist and where do I find him? A hebologist, he says, is a nutcase religious fanatic. It can be found at the church in town. I'm on my way, we can say. Heading south into the next zone downtown, we find the church in a little white hut with a front garden. We arrive at night. We see a striking woman in a long robe. And when we talk to her, she says, "Intruder, do you plan to desecrate this place? Out!" Now, she does give us a quest. So when we come here in my video on the NCR, we're not going to kill her. We're going to talk with her and learn all about hebology. But for now, we need to get on Merc's good side. So, doing the old Shady Sands shuffle, we can steal from her and then reverse pickpocket some activated dynamite. Then we can move to the next room and wait. With the hebologist dead, we can head back to Merc. Ah, he says, I've heard the good news. You still interested in a job? Yeah, I'm tired of freebies. I could use the work, we can say. Looks like we can do business, friend, says Merc. Here's the deal. There's a loopy scientist in town, Dr. Henry. He's got some papers that I'd like. I'll pay you $1,000 for them. Oh, and I don't want no harm to come to Doc Henry. He's useful alive. Interested? I'm on it, we can say. Doc Henry lives in the clinic, which is west just across the street from the church. This task is easy. We find the documents in his desk. They are labeled doctor papers. When we inspect them in our inventory, we learn that these are a set of very detailed plans for a cybernetic canine guard unit. With this and the right facilities, a person just might be able to build a robo-dog. Doc Henry? Robo-dog? That Doc Henry? Fallout New Vegas fans will recognize the name, and indeed, this is the same person. But we'll have to get into that story when I do my video on NCR. With the doctor's papers in hand, we can head back to Merc, and he says, "So, is that little business with Dr. Henry done?" And we can say, "Yeah, I got the papers you want." Days like this make me so happy, says Merc. Well, let's conclude our business. Well, success in your ventures, he says. I see no reason for us to talk again. But having completed all of his quests, he's better disposed towards us. So if we do talk with him again, we find an option to say, I'm looking for info on Vice President Carlson. And he says, as a good citizen, I applaud Carlson's opposition to any new Reno influence around here. Now that Westin's dead, I've been helping out with some security for the vice president. After hearing this, we can say, oh, well, I guess I'll never get to meet the man. I've heard a lot about him, too. And now that Merc trusts us, he says, tell you what, I like your work and Carlson could use another guard. Give a little time and there'll be a job waiting for you down there. I'm on it, Merc, we can say. Then, heading back to the council hall, we can head west past the statue and talk to the guard. You're the one Merc called about? Okay, let him through, boys. And with that, they turn off the flaming energy barrier. But the simplest way to get past this barrier is to turn east from the statue and to enter the Congress House. The door to the Congress House is locked, and if we try to pick it, these guards turn hostile. But to the left of the guards, we find a man in a green shirt. Welcome to Congress House. How can I help you? I'm looking for President Tandy, we can say. Concerning, he says. And if we talked to Dumont, the policeman on the street corner, who told us about the work that Westin needed doing, and accepted his quest to talk with President Tandy, we find an option to say, I heard your president has a job to be done. Oh, that, says the man. Talk to Mr. Gunther in the back. We'll learn more about this job President Tandy needs doing in another episode. For now, we'll pickpocket Gunther, this man in a suit standing in the middle of the room. On his inventory, we find the Presidential Pass. With the Presidential Pass in our inventory, we can head out and again move east past the statue towards Carlson's house. To use the pass, we need to equip it to an active item slot, then use it and select the police officer standing in front of the flaming energy barrier. Okay, you're clear, he says. Open the gate, boys. And with that, we get into Carlson's house. Now remember, Bishop told us we could kill him any way we want. That includes just walking up and pulling out a gun. But there are those guards right by the front door. Let's try to find a more subtle solution to our problem. Now, we see a young boy standing just outside the house. That's right, Bishop told us that he had a 7 or 8-year-old boy. Talking to him, he says, my dad's Vice President Carlson, so you better treat me nice. Who are you? Oxhorn, we can say. And he says, Oxhorn? That's a crappy name. You got a stupid name. Stupid name. All right, so we don't feel so bad for what we're about to do. Using the Shady Sands Shuffle, we can arm some dynamite and set the timer for 20 seconds. Then we can pickpocket the boy and place the dynamite on his inventory. Then we can talk to him again. Hey, he says, it's you again. What you doing? Both of these options have the same response. We can say, tell your father I have news about Mr. Bishop. Can you remember that? News about Mr. Bishop. Okay? Good enough, we can say. And the boy runs off. If we set the timer for too long, say 40 seconds to a minute, then the boy runs back outside. And then boom goes the dynamite. If we set the timer for too short, like 10 or so seconds, oh, and we could hurt ourselves. But if we time things just right, say between 15 to 20 seconds, then we kill the boy, and we get a message that Carlson has been injured. That's the problem with this strategy. I tried this probably 20 different times, and each time the explosion just wasn't powerful enough to kill him. And that's because his son stands a few feet away from him while they're talking. So Carlson is on the edge of the blast radius. Perhaps a different character with different skills and stats would be able to detonate a larger explosion. But for me, this was not a viable solution. So I went ahead and did it the old-fashioned way, inflicting Carlson himself with the Shady Sands Shuffle. A couple of seconds on the timer, dropped it down his trousers, moved into an adjoining room. Pop goes the weasel. The trick to this is not being anywhere near one of these NCR guards when the dynamite detonates. As long as they can't see you and you're not within earshot, we can kill him using this method and not be detected. However, we can't walk out the front door. Once Carlson dies, the fiery electric gate reactivates. this is a big problem. Even with the presidential day pass, none of the guards on this side of the gate will acknowledge it. We can't talk with them, we can't get them to open the gate, and we can't talk with the guard on the other side of the gate. We see a monitor against a wall on this side of the wall, but using repair or science or any other skill has no effect. If we find ourselves in this position, our only way out is to use our repair skill on the gate. But we already know what happens if we do. They all turn hostile. So I found the only way to get this done was to perform a Shady Sands shuffle on Carlson with a long enough timer to escape to the other side of the gate before it closes. Say 40 seconds or so. This allowed me enough time to walk all the way to the edge of the exit grid before moving the camera over to Carlson's house and wait for the explosion. Then I could just walk away. With Carlson dead, we can return to Mr. Bishop to tell him the good news. "You done Carlson yet?" he says. They're fitting Carlson for a coffin right now. Well, what's left of him anyway, we can say. And he smiles. "Good job, Tribal. I am impressed, and I'm not an easy man to impress. Got any more work for me, we can say?" And he says, "Not exactly." And then he smiles. "What I got is an offer. How about becoming part of the family? I got big plans, and I could use you. You're resourceful, tough, and you get things done. That's the kind of soldier that I need." We recall from our conversation with Salvatore what happens if we reject such a kind offer. So we'll say, "I'm interested. What's in it for me?" "All right then," he says, "bottom line. You got a taste for women? I can make sure you're never lonely again. Maybe you don't like women, that's fine. I'll get you some glitter boys you can park your meat in." "Keep talking," says the chosen one, intrigued. "You like to fly, get high, wire up? I can get you all of that. You want weapons, new hardware, a better piece of iron to plug some schlepp with? All that bull honky, yours. If," and he raises a finger, "if you join the family." "Sounds good. Sign me up, boss," we can say. "All right then," says Bishop. "You got a name you want to be called?" And here we find the same list of family names that Louis Salvatore gave us. This time we'll go with, Ice Queen. "Ice Queen. I like it, says Bishop. "Now, if you want to cash in on your reputation, hit the bar downstairs, or head down Virgin Street to the Cat's Paw. If you want to get some weapons, head on over to New Reno Arms." And now we're a made man for the Bishop family. The other Bishop made men treat us with respect. "Nice piece you got there, Ice Queen," they say. And as we learned when we sided with Salvatore, we can get a discount from Jagged Jimmy J, become a porn star at the Corsican Brothers Golden Globes Porn Theater, get free and discount sex from the prostitutes at the Cat's Paw, and even get a discount from Eldritch at New Reno Arms. This is not just a discount, we get access to a greater inventory. My boss, Bishop, told me to stop by, and that you would set me up, we can say. Eldritch looks us up and down, and his tone becomes more respectful. "Sure, of course. Let me show you our special stock. At a discount, of course." His special stock includes an assault rifle, a Beaux-Arts, the M60, which is new, we haven't seen that yet, a sniper rifle, an H&K Cause, a flamer, and a rocket launcher. By siding with the Bishops, we unlock a new dialogue option when talking with TJ at the chop shop to intimidate him into giving us back our highwayman car for free. But we already got our car back. But even as a made man, there are some things Mr. Bishop can't forgive. If we sleep with either his wife or his daughter, when he sees us walking out of their bedrooms, he stops us. "Hey, Ice Queen, everybody treating you all right?" Everything's going great, we can say. Your family in particular is showing me every courtesy. We can smile knowingly, then leave. Hey, before you go, you gonna be stopping by and seeing my wife again, Tribal? Do a little powwow, eh? Bishop's smiling, but there's not a trace of humor in it. And Bishop has the same response to all of our options here. And so we'll say, you'd be surprised how much those powwows please your wife. It's as if she's never had good sex. And he turns hostile. If we make enemies with Bishop at this point, we lose our made man title with him. And the entire casino turns hostile. So if we want to side with Bishop and become a made man and sleep with either his daughter or his wife, we need to make sure that after we complete his quest, we never talk to him again. Or we can side with Westin, going back in time at the Westin Ranch. When he tells us that he has a better offer, we can say, such as? Take out Bishop instead, he says. I'll pay cash. Whatever he was paying, plus 50%. How much was it? And here we can lie. We'll just go with $750. Fine, $1,125 it is. You do the job, I pay you. You say no, you don't get out of here alive. Well, deal, we can say. I look forward to hearing from you. Now, out the way you came. With that, we can head all the way back to New Reno and kill Mr. Bishop any way we wish. I found 2 ways to kill him silently and not turn the casino hostile. I tried using Super Stim Packs and Psycho. That didn't seem to work for me. I then tried the good old Shady Sands Shuffle, put some active dynamite on his inventory, then waited downstairs. After a while, then going upstairs, we find him in pieces, and none of his guards turn hostile. The other way, of course, is the one we've already explored. To collaborate with his wife to booby-trap his safe so that he dies the next time he opens it. The other option, of course, is to just shoot him, which turns the entire casino hostile. And that may be the way we want to go, since killing every single Bishop man in the casino is a ton of welcome experience. But it's really tricky, and there's a bug associated with it. As soon as we walk into his room, his guards turn hostile. We came up here with either his wife or his daughter, so we're alone, with no companions. I had to reload my save a couple of times to survive, but I finally defeated everyone here and killed Mr. Bishop. The problem is that if you reload a save while on the 3rd floor, all of your companions, who should be waiting for you on the 2nd floor, disappear. This is a known bug. I didn't know it was a known bug at the time, so I just kept on playing, thinking maybe I would find them hanging out by the car or hanging out by the 1st floor. So it took, well, many hours to fight my way from the 3rd floor all the way down to the ground floor, killing all of the maid men and any of the bar patrons that happened to get in the way. It was only after I got to the ground floor that I realized my companions were gone, but there is a way around this bug. Once we clear the Shark Club, we can go back to Leslie Ann Bishop and again ask her for a nightcap. We can use this opportunity to explore more dialogue with her. If we slept with her daughter Angela, once we have Leslie Ann alone, we can confess the fact and say, Mrs. Bishop, I slept with your daughter. Maybe we shouldn't. And she says, yes, I know. Gossip travels quickly in Reno. No matter. I think you'll find that I'm much more experienced in the ways of pleasuring a man than she is. And she pauses. You did use a prophylactic, didn't you? And if we didn't have a Jimmy hat in our inventory, we can only say, condom? And she says, yes, a condom. And she glares at us. Great. Just great. But then she shrugs. Oh, well, maybe I'll have a grandson. Oh, well, stop talking and come here. More experienced than Angela, you said? This I have to see. And we go to it again. This time, however, her husband is now dead. So when talking with her about how unhappy she is here in Reno, this time when we ask her why leaving Reno is so impossible, she responds by saying, perhaps I will, now that John has had his much-deserved accident, and she smiles ruefully. Maybe I will at that. Reno has become tiresome. But then she thinks, or maybe it just needs new management. And with that, we unlock a new ending for Fallout 2. If we choose this moment to talk about her daughter again, now that she knows that we slept with her, she frowns. What about her? If you're gonna talk about the two of you fornicating, I don't want to hear it. For your sake, I hope you used a condom. Little Tramp will sleep with any tribal that shakes a peace pipe at her. Leaving Mrs. Bishop to her dreams, we can head back downstairs. And we see that our companions are back. Sleeping with Mrs. Bishop causes this cell to reload, and we find them exactly where we left them. On our way out of the Shark Club, we can pass by all of the carnage. We didn't kill Angela. After all, the two of us have history, but as we pass by, she stops us. I know it was you. I'll find some way to get you for what you did to my father. With that, I think it's safe to say we won't be sleeping with her ever again. But this route does mean we have to fight through 3 floors of Mr. Bishop's men without companions. Now that Bishop is dead, we can go back to Westin in NCR. You again? What do you want? I finished your dirty work, we can say. Excellent, says Westin. I knew you were the right person. Well, I promised you pay, and I do not renege my deals. Here's your money. Anything else I can do for you, we can ask? And here he offers us a surprisingly important quest that we'll cover when I do my video on NCR. No matter how we chose to eliminate Mr. Bishop, that's our first boss down. We have 1 more Mafia family to meet, but we still have to kill 3 of them. If you don't want to miss what happens next, be sure to tune in to my next episode. I publish new Fallout content every week here on my channel, so if you don't want to miss the next episode, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you have and you still feel like you're missing out on YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I have a brand new shirt in the shop. Lion's Pride. The Brotherhood does its best, but sometimes it takes a little something special. That's where Lion's Pride comes in. Sport your pride in Lion's Pride with this brand new design. You can find this design in a wide range of men's, women's, and children's sizes and in a variety of colors. You can find it on other products as well, like smartphone cases, mugs, posters, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more brand new videos.